And when we saw him, we started screaming, JJ, JJ.
That a coup will not succeed if the atmosphere, the climate is not calling for it.
He told Ghanaians, I have hard work for you.
Christianize me if you may, but don't try to Europeanize me.
In June 1979, Ghana was at a crossroad. Another military coup was at hand. A young Air Force pilot who a few weeks before had been court-martialed and was awaiting execution was broken out of jail by his colleagues to lead what would be later known as the June 4th Revolution. Little was known of this man who would later be instrumental in changing the future of Ghana forever. His name, Jerry Rawlings. Jerry Rawlings was born in Accra, Ghana, on the 22nd of June 1947 to his mother Victoria Abok-Chui and his Scottish father James Ramsey. He attended Ghana's prestigious Achimota School. An elite school at the time, Achimota was founded on the principle of providing African students with the British model of a public education. The school boasts of an impressive alumni, with Ghana's first president Kwame Nkrumah, Gambia's Sadawada Jawara, and Zimbabwe's president Robert Mugabe, all being former students at different times in the school's history.
I must say that it probably was one of the finest times of my life. You know, Achimota School. It's a place to be proud of.
I noticed him, yes, because he was very visible and bullied us even though we were in the same class. Not in a very bad way, but you know, bullying is bullying. And so you can't help but notice him. But I never thought that we'll come this far.
By collective effort, that the nation's problems can be solved.
Before his fame as a revolutionary, Jerry Rawlings was unknown to most of Ghana.
whatnots, and severally and whatnots, those terms they use. So I got up and grabbed the microphone, said, I don't understand these terms and all that's going on, neither do my boys. And I'm just here, and I'm taking responsibility for everything that's happened, and to leave my men alone. But I wanted to make sure that they hear what I have to say first.
He made an unforgettable speech in court and said,
I am not an expert in economics, and I am not an expert in law, but I am an expert in working on an empty stomach, wondering when and where the next meal will come from. I know what it feels like going to bed with a headache for want of food in the stomach.
He was an embodiment of the reaction, the disappointment, the great disappointment of the people of Ghana.
Instead, the name Rawlings became the symbol of hope and deliverance for the people of Ghana. On the 4th of June of that same year, a mutiny by officers in support of his cause broke him out of jail, sparking the revolution.
So what would that leave us?
Yao Graham was in university then and remembers the mood of the time.
It was in the middle of this split national mood that J. Rawlings was arrested and reported as somebody who was planning to clean up the mess by overthrowing these people. Now it's important to understand this because he didn't say anything. The prosecution said this was what it was about. But such was the mood that people identified that actually this guy is saying exactly the way we are all feeling. So he became a hero on account of the honesty of the prosecution.
1979, I was almost 10 years. If I recollect, that June 4th, when we heard that something had happened, I think it was on the news. That's the first time you know that something is going on. They start playing Ghana national anthem. So we knew that another person had taken charge of the country. But who, they were not really sure. Some people went and spied and realized that when he alighted from the helicopter, the men picked him up. And when we saw him, we started screaming, JJ, JJ. And my dad would shake his head and say, wow, we are in trouble and our kids are hailing this man.
When you consider, the difficulties, the shock effect that June 4th should have had on us, should have woken us up. And I do remember, to be quite honest, in those volatile, violent, difficult days when people were calling for let the blood flow, etc., there were some intellectuals and some diplomats who, I guess, have a better knowledge of history, who were asking me that I was exercising too much control. I was restraining it too much.
Jerry Rawlings and his soldiers formed the Armed Forces Revolutionary Council, AFRC.
I didn't expect to be here.
Later, the AFRC carried out what Rawlings described as a house cleaning exercise. This was basically the identifying of leaders that were deemed corrupt. The leaders were either sentenced to prison for their crimes or in some cases executed by the AFRC. 3 months later, on 24th September 1979, the AFRC allowed Hila Liman to head Ghana and the People's National Party, PNP. However,
wanted things done immediately, quickly. They have that one in common.
He's the type who does not mind getting his hand dirty. He'll be passing here and maybe we are doing a cleanup. He'll come and join us. He'll just get and come and join you. He doesn't see himself as being above people.
I remember one of the pictures. He was at Ashiyama, cleaning gutter, and people were standing there folding their hands and looking at him inside the gutter. Your president.
The young government was beginning to change the face of Ghana, but the economic reforms challenge they faced was one that caused Rawling's rule to change drastically.
I remember in 1983, before the budget was presented, that budget devalued Ghana's currency from 2.75 cedis to the dollar to 29 cedis to the dollar. Previous governments have been overthrown for much smaller devaluations. The long-term effect of these economic policies has been to worsen inequality.
Rawling's government's response to its critics was to clamp down on opposition. The media in particular was hit hard. Haruna Atta, a journalist, shares his experience.
Those were what one would describe as the bad old days when journalists were under siege, sort of. At that time, he was very much seen as the dictator, like the quintessential African dictator.
Rawlings and his government had to instill measures that before would seem to be a compromise of their status quo, dealing with the West.
Pope John Paul described capitalism, the capitalist economic philosophy, as the savagery of capitalism. What are you going to say about us in the so-called developing world, in Africa?
Rawlings is a man of many faces.
There was a time I wanted to be a priest, you know. Yeah.
Charismatic.
How are you? I'm going to take you together with a flower.
And now, his long-time secret as an artist has been finally exposed.
You may not believe it, but I'd much rather be known as an artist than as a president. Just as I would much rather probably be known for flying skill than being a president. Maybe it's because through this you can see my power of observation, my sense of precision, my striving for excellence. I don't know where you found this, but the point is I've kept quiet about this thing because I haven't done my wife's portrait yet, you know. If I'd done my wife's portrait also, I would have felt good about, you know, displaying this.
A family man, he is married to Dr. Nana Agyemang Rawlings, his childhood sweetheart.
He doesn't remember. I remember the first place I met him in primary school at a school called Mrs. Sam's School. And he obviously didn't recognize me because I was black, I was dark. Because this lady was fair, and there were a lot of fair kids in the school. And she actually used to discriminate between the fair and the dark ones. So the fair ones knew each other and the dark ones knew each other. So he didn't see me, but I saw him. It's just a joke I crack all the time.
Nana, in the first place, was somebody I noticed from the age of 14, somebody